All right, Infernal Blessings. We're back with another video. So I'm kind of rolling today. Got 3 of them. This will be the 3rd one done. But anyway, a couple quick announcements. Again, if you are interested in a spiritual reading, especially a 2024 yearly forecast reading, that window is closing. I won't be doing that probably to the end of next week, and that's it for that. So if you're interested in a spiritual reading or any other type of reading, I offer a Clepothic demonic reading, a Santa Muerte reading, an Egyptian oracle reading, deity reading, shadow work reading, any of the aforementioned. Shoot me an email at khmum19@gmail.com. And if you are requesting a 2024 yearly forecast reading, please put that clearly in the title of your email so it stands out and see it, so I can book those and get them all finished. All right. Also, if you are interested in signing up for classes, the way to do that is go to the official Primordial Chaos Patreon page at patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti. And that's tier 3. That's the tier you want to join. That's going to give you access to the 3 private classes that I do every month on Patreon for Patreon members only, in addition to the group ritual we do together at the end of the month. Also, when you join, as I've said before, you get access not just from the day you join moving forward, you get access to everything in the archives, all right, which is over 4 years worth of content. I have a bunch of ongoing series and classes on the occult and the left-hand path that are with constant content. New content is being added all the time. Okay. So if you want to get in on that and get in on the classes, that's the way to do it. If again, the Patreon is somewhere where I go in more in depth. I talk about things on a more personal and in-depth level. And it's really for that individual, that seeker that wants to take their path of self-mastery to that next level. Okay? Patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti tier 3. All right. Also, check out our social media pages. Primordial Chaos 9, all one word, on Instagram. Primordial Chaos 2 words on Facebook. I upload all this new content to the Facebook page. And I'm working on the TikTok. All right. Slowly but surely, today, working on the bio. The links are on there now to the Instagram and the YouTube. I'll be slowly adding content day by day. I'm going to go in there a little later and do some more work on it. So the TikTok is up and running. Not a lot of content on that yet, but all the links to the other pages are on there. So check out Primordial Chaos on TikTok. I know you can only upload, I think it's 10 minutes they let you allowed. So I'm uploading the first 10 minutes of all the videos I do there and putting in the description box. If you want to see the entire video, you need to come here to YouTube and watch it. So I'll be putting the first 10 minutes of all new videos that I make on the TikTok. So check out Primordial Chaos on TikTok. Slowly but surely, we'll get that thing up and running with some content, time permitting. So now I'll put that link in the bio on all the other pages, so we can kind of connect all these platforms, right? So yes, Primordial Chaos is on TikTok now. Check it out. All right, so also check out the Primordial Chaos podcast, which is available on Spotify, all major podcast platforms. The direct link to the podcast, my contact email address, the social media pages, all of that is in the description box of this video that you're watching right now. All right. So I actually had 2 people, which is crazy, in the last few days that reached out to me on the topic of Hermes and the emerald tablets. I had a brother and a sister that follow my channel and Patreon, and they had asked, can I talk about this? So one of the questions in the email, and I'll talk about Hermes as a whole in a brief tutorial here. So for us on the occult or the left-hand path, the emerald tablets and Hermes, or thrice Hermes as they call them in Hermeticism, technically is not left-hand path or or dark occult. It is occult in nature because it does deal with the occult, but it wouldn't be occult per se left-hand path. But I'm saying that to say something doesn't necessarily have to be labeled that or categorized that in order for you to get hidden gnosis out of it. So I do consider whether you're talking about the Emerald Tablets of Tahuti or the 7 Hermetic Principles of Tahuti, right? So let's first start basically with this. Hermes. Who is Hermes? Well, in Hermeticism, when you're dealing with Hermeticism, you're dealing with the later dynasties where the influence of the Greeks and the Egyptians come in. Basically, Hermeticism is ancient Egyptian teachings that these Greeks who mixed in with the ancient Egyptians kind of connected with when they, again, mixed in with each other. Now, you're talking about the later dynasties of Egypt. Understand, you have the pre-dynastic Egyptians, which predates the last 46 dynasties of the Hyksos, who included the Greeks who came afterwards. Now, also keep in mind, some of your indigenous Greeks, or what we're calling Greeks today, they also were of a darker skin hue or pigmentation. And then obviously over the years, as the mixing takes place, even when you look at that whole region of what they're calling the Middle East or the Arab world, you're seeing a conglomeration of different mixtures. So Hermes, in a nutshell, is another incarnation of who we would call Tahuti in ancient Egypt. Okay? So this is why you hear the term thrice Hermes. There's different aspects. We have to understand when we're talking about gods or goddesses or demons or spirits, right? Understand that they have incarnated many times in many different periods of what we're calling history to different cultures. So Tahuti appeared at this period in ancient Egypt under Hermes, right? He was a great teacher, a great philosopher. The Emerald Tablets and the 7 Hermetic Principles, which go back into what we're calling Hermeticism, right? Or Hermetic Principles, the 7 Hermetic Principles of Tahuti, come from this same vein. See, sometimes we get a little bit thrown off because it's hard for us to grasp, or we can get confused with, who is this? Is this the same character? What is it talking about? So Hermes and Tahuti are linked together. He's known as Tahuti when you get into the more pre-dynastic ancient Egyptians, right? In Hermeticism, he would be known as Hermes. And the Emerald Tablets of Tahuti and the 7 Hermetic Principle is a great piece for occult practitioners, even if you're on the left-hand path. Because I've done many times over the years, I've done presentations on it, classes, teaching on it, where the 7 Hermetic Principles, when you truly understand those 7 Hermetic Principles, it gives you a good foundation on understanding your subjective consciousness and how to work what we're calling magic, right? One of the names or attributes of Tahuti, also, many people know him as the scribe, just like Hermes was a great scribe, a great elder who had much knowledge and wisdom. But Tahuti was also affiliated with magic. He was considered one of the fathers of magic because he had the knowledge and he had the wisdom and he had the understanding of the spirit world, right? So he goes deeper than just being a scribe or a very wise elder. Now, if you've read the Emerald Tablets of Tahuti, and I incorporate the Emerald Tablets of Tahuti in my mentorship program, when people first have to get the foundations of magic down packed, they need to have a good understanding of the Emerald Tablets, and they need to have a good understanding of the 7 Hermetic Principles, because it's really gonna help you see how your subconscious mind really operates and works. Okay. So when you read the Emerald Tablets of Tahuti, right, there's a series of questions. You see well, let me refer you to another good book that I've referred over the years in regards to this subject. It's the Emerald Tablets of Tahuti, Alchemy for Personal Transformation by Dennis William Huck, H-A-U-C-K. And when you're reading this book, he shows you how in the Emerald Tablets, you see Hermes in the temple talking to the students. And they're asking him questions about the above and the below, the one thing, are all things connected? If you have your thoughts and I have my thoughts, how can we all be of the same mind? Right? What that is really showing you is these students really are a representation of us when we first come on the path. Because Tahuti or Hermes was making them know that they have the very aspect of the divine within them to achieve everything they're trying to achieve in their life, in the spirit world, in the physical world. So they're asking him questions. They're kind of doubtful of some of the stuff he's saying because he's dropping some really esoterical stuff on them. So he was the great scribe, the great teacher, and he incarnated, more than one time through the course of history through people. So Hermes has that connection with spiritual magic. Hermes has that connection with being a scribe or an elder. There is a link there if you've read the 7 Hermetic Principles of Tahuti, which I always encourage everybody on this path should read because it's a great foundational piece for you to read and to give you a good foundation. Because the 7 Hermetic Principles, obviously, the first one, all is mental, mental is all, the universe is mental. That right there is probably the root or the foundation of understanding spirituality and magic. Okay? Understanding the doctrine of polarity, the doctrine of rhythm and vibration, the doctrine of gender, the doctrine of correspondence. All of these principles really piggyback off each other, and they really show you how you tap into your subjective consciousness and how magic works. Now, you always hear people in the Kemetic community always stressing you must ma'at, the principles of ma'at this, ma'at that. Ma'at is very important, no doubt. But the reality is, in order to really understand and master the principles of ma'at, one has to fully understand those 7 Hermetic Principles. Because the 7 Hermetic Principles deal with mastering your subjective consciousness, and the principles of ma'at deal more so with your objective consciousness. Right? They both go hand in hand, but the problem I find over the years, people are always referring you to ma'at first, and that's wrong. Right? If you're studying Kemetic studies, Kemetic teachings, you better get a good grasp of those Hermetic principles first before you just indulge in the aspects of ma'at. So Hermes, like many other archetypes that we work with, has different forms and manifestations. You're just dealing with the form of Tahuti at that particular time in manifestation. Okay? So they are one and the same. Whether you refer to him as Tahuti, whether you refer to him as Hermes, you're just talking about 2 different incarnations of the same being. Now we have to understand, we always use the term that these gods and goddesses and demons and spirit, we always use the term that they're energy. They are, and this energy can take on many different forms. So you can't limit, but people get confused sometimes with this. Even if it's in other systems, there's not just, for an example, one Lilith or just one aspect of Lucifer. There's been many masks of the adversary or incarnations of these things. And I think this is where some stuff gets lost in transition, because sometimes we're not aware of that. And I'm speaking as a whole, as well as addressing, people that have requested to talk about this. I even have, if you go into my archive here, you'll find a couple of videos in depth on Hermes and the 7 Hermetic Principles and the Emerald Tablets. If you got to go back to some of the earlier videos. So this is a topic that I've taught on for many years, and like I say, Hermes is a mystic. He's an elder, and slash Tahuti, either name you want to refer to him as. So you can connect with that spirit, that God, or that deity the same way you could with anything else on this path. So if you're making that connection, because one of the emails that reached out said they were having a connection and a vision, etc. So yes, but I also want to stress, there's a lot of things in spirituality that may be occult in nature, but may not fully be deemed the left-hand path, and that's okay. So it doesn't necessarily have to be categorized or labeled left-hand path. in order for you to get some gnosis out of it. Okay? Because like I say, technically on the record, no. Is it categorized as left-hand path? Absolutely not. Can we work with it on the left-hand path? Absolutely, 150%. And I recommend it. I highly encourage it. Absolutely. Okay? Because if you really understand the Emerald Tablets and what it was trying to really connect with and link with, along with those 7 Hermetic principles, it's all along the line with the principles I always talk about. The journey starts within you. It's an inward journey out, not an outward journey in, like most other religions and dogmas and spiritual systems. Right? What Tahuti was trying to show them in the Emerald Tablets, you should be looking for the divine or the source or the creator within yourself, not outside of yourself. And this is why they would ask him those line of questions as he's teaching them in the temple. You know, the whole principle, as above, so below, comes from this concept and these teachings. So, yes, it's a cult in nature, for sure, right? But not everything occult is labeled, it's very important you hear this part, not everything occult is labeled left-hand path, and it doesn't have to be. Because remember, we're occultists and left-hand path practitioners. They go together, they're linked, but there's going to be different variations of what we're calling occult and left-hand path. Okay? So, I encourage people to read the Emerald Tablets. I encourage people to read and study the 7 Hermetic principles and learn about the teachings of Hermes, because it can be especially alchemy, for an example. Okay, the 7 operations of alchemy and Hermeticism really are your formula to do shadow work. And I show people in the mentorship program how to use the 7 operations of alchemy to do that shadow work. So the whole concept with that, the philosopher's stone, right? The stone you're working on is you, right? That's the stone you were trying to perfect, right? That is the philosopher's stone. It's all about you perfecting you. So everything that, it's in alignment with self-deification, apotheosis, self-mastery. It's about going within to find God, right? Which is in alignment with everything we do, because that's what we teach on the occult and the left-hand path. Not to look outside yourself for salvation. Not to look outside yourself for some spook deity that's supposed to save you. Right? That's what this path is about. So, yes, you'll see the connection there. I mean, look, as I said before, you can take teachings like the 5% Nation teachings, right? Which are very Luciferian and occult in nature when you really look at it through our eyes. Yeah, they may not look at it like that or see it that way. But to say that in them teachings, that you are God and we don't worship a spook or a mystery God outside of ourselves, that's not a cult or left-hand path in nature. Yes, to us who study the occult and the left-hand path. No, maybe not to somebody who's not on the occult or left-hand path, because they're not going to look at it like that. But you can find a lot of occult teachings of apotheosis and self-mastery in those 120 lessons, right? So it's no different with Hermes. It's no different with the Emerald Tablets or the 7 Hermetic principles of Tahuti, right? So yes, we can utilize Hermes and the teachings of Hermes on this path for sure, 100%. And I encourage and recommend it, because there's a lot of hidden gnosis in those Hermetic teachings. And again, for some of you guys that have reached out to me over the years, when you guys always ask me, like more so when you're beginners, and they're always asking me, what's a good place to start? What's a good first book or first few books to get? For those who have reached out to me, you know I've clearly encouraged people to get the Emerald Tablets and the 7 Hermetic, the Kabbalion by the 3 Initiates, which is the 7 Hermetic principles of Tahuti. I've highly encouraged that over the years. Okay? So again, it's not a matter of quote unquote, is it left-hand path? Is it is it or not, or this, that, or the other, it is in alignment with what we do. That's the important thing to that question. 100% in alignment with what we do, and fully encouraged to engage and study and master those Hermetic and Kemetic teachings, because they will be very beneficial for you. Trust me. And look, I can't say enough, especially the 7 Hermetic principles. I can't tell you enough of how over the years that has really helped people build their foundation on the path of the occult. All right. So in short, like I said, it wasn't going to be too long of a video because I've shot 3 videos today, and I plan on going live tonight doing the Luciferian sorcery self-empowerment book review, which I've encouraged all you guys to get, which I am a contributor to that book in being a high priest in the Temple of the Ascending Flame. All right, great book for if you're looking for ritual work for self-empowerment and serious spiritual growth. I'll talk about that on that video. All right, so Hermes and Tahuti, that's who you're dealing with. Okay, so if you make a decision to work with this particular archetype and work with his teachings and incorporate it in your path of left-hand path practice or self-mastery, 100% recommended. All right, so hopefully this video helped. All right, so if you need to reach out to me, again, my contact email address, if you want to book a reading or a spiritual consultation, the direct link to all the social media pages, the direct link to the Primordial Chaos podcast, along with the direct link to my Patreon page to sign up for classes. I do 3 every month, and a group ritual. If you want to get in on that, the link for that to sign up, all of that is in the description box of this video that you are watching right now. Other than that, that's going to do it for me. It's going to do it for videos for today. But you know me, I'm going to keep getting that content out there because, again, you guys have really stressed in the last 7-8 months that you guys like these tutorial videos, and they're going very well. I'm getting a great response from them. I will keep doing these. And again, like people, I want to encourage you. I didn't do it in the last couple videos, but if you got a topic that you think I can do in a short period of time, don't be trying to send stuff that's a topic that needs a long time to talk about. That has to be done in lives, and questions need to be asked there. But if you got a topic you think I can do a 20 to 30 minute tutorial video on, shoot me an email. I'm open to suggestions. I'll do my best. I'm not saying I'm going to be able to get to every single one, but send me some emails, ideas on some of these 20, 30 minute videos that things you would like me to talk about, topics you would like me to discuss, and I'd be more than happy to consider it. All right? Frontal blessings, and we'll talk soon.